Hey team, just want to do a quick video following up on some of the things we were discussing the last couple of days regarding the economy, the direction of the country, and I just noticed there was a bit of talk in the media about job seeker payments, and everyone's talking about that. Corporate media, the establishment media, and it just got me thinking about the way that the corporate media gear their news and different topics, how they can just mill over things in a mill over subjects without actually saying anything, without actually showing you the point of the topic. For example, they can talk about the job seeker payments, and they use these propaganda techniques, like they can make something seem so important which actually is very inconsequential and irrelevant, and just by the tone that they'll use to discuss it. For example, they'll say the job seeker payments may or may not be increased, you know, and they'll do this with a different range of topics, and I'm wondering how long do Australians think they're going to live in this sort of like untouched sort of parallel universe where nothing's going to touch it, because I don't see how what's going to come in the future is going to leave the country untouched. I don't think they'll get away with just living under the radar like they have for the last 50 years, being ragdolled by Britain and then being ragdolled by America, because the entire geopolitical structure is changing. And anyway, that's the thought I had. You know, these propaganda techniques that they use to actually say something without saying anything at all. But another thing about the reason why I believe they have to talk about this job seeker is because they are being ragdolled. They have no strategy for creating jobs in the new economy. They have no strategy. In Australian life, you're pigeonholed. If you're smart, you may go on to go to university. If you're a grunt, you probably get a trade. And then there's the various classes in between. You can get a housing commission house or a flat, and you can be pigeonholed in there, or you can aspire to some semi-affluent. The reason I call it semi-affluent is because the way that the Commonwealth is geared up, you can be wealthy but still not be free. You still don't have the freedom that wealth should bring. Like, you don't have free speech, and you have to live your life within parameters of the establishment. You can't be like there's very few like open, outspoken, wealthy entrepreneurs in Australia, and that's because of that Commonwealth system that keeps them in that sort of pigeonholed lifestyle. We don't mind you being wealthy, but you can't be outspoken, and that's why there's masses of wealth in this country, but there's no actual independent progress in the way of just, for example, in technology and things like that. In the big industries, there was a little bit, I believe, in the 80s, but there's no real strength of progress now, and I think that's because I don't think it's because there's not the passion to be innovative and creative. Like, for example, the car industry. They just, like, you know, this country paid hundreds of millions of dollars to the biggest car manufacturers not to leave. Right? Hundreds of millions of dollars. And one by one, they all just left. And while this is happening, everyone just lied down and watched them. You know, and this is like during the period when the Tesla automobile was being produced and introduced. This is during all that period. Like, there was no one saying, oh look, well, you know, like fossil fuel cars are going out anyway. Why don't we produce a electric vehicle? So they could have done that 10 years ago when the Tesla and the rural electric vehicles were being pushed. See, there was no one doing that. It was just an establishment media just beating anyone down to fit within the parameters. There was the dismantling of unions and any kind of like voice to maintain workers' rights. That was all being beaten down by the News Corp media. It's no secret, I can say it. I mean, if the chairman of the board even is able to stand down from the News Corp media operations, well, in protest to the denial of climate change reporting, well, it's no big secret, is it? So I believe that Australians think that they're just going to like mosey on along down the road, like the way we have over the last 50 years. But I don't think that's going to happen now. I think the dynamics are completely changing. And what is pushing the dynamics of the new economy as far as industry growth and innovation is sustainability. And unless Australia takes a rapid detour into that direction in a massive way, I think it will become even less significant in the way that it's looked on internationally. It will be less of a significant player. Yeah, sure, we got resources and beaches and things like that, but to be a real leader in the future, I think you've got to get yourself involved seriously in the sustainability realm. Anyway, just a few thoughts, but I'm just looking at the way that the mainstream media are able to use pitch and tone in their reports and say something without saying anything, by just using the expression and tone of their voice. They're able to say, the job seeker payment may or may not be increased. And they'll just mill on that subject and for a few days, and everyone thinks that's news. Anyway, just a few thoughts I had. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think Australia should be doing? Anyway, Green2Stay Eco signing out. Make eco fun.